Doctors, tell me the strangest, scariest thing that happened to you during childbirth. Tell us about the strangest incident that happened to you in your entire career. This wasn't during the birth part. That was pretty ho-hum to the outside observer, as it was a cesarean section, and I just laid there feeling push-pull sensations and waiting. My story is afterward, jacked up on the fullest dose of morphine they could give me, so I could stay ahead of the pain. They frightened me into the largest dose. My whole family was in the room, as well as all of my friends. Some of them were dudes. I was holding my new pink, beautiful lil baby boy and wanted to breastfeed right there. Being skinny my whole life, I was quietly delighted to have obtained an ample bosom. But at this moment, thanks to that glorious morphine, I wasn't so quiet about it. I whipped my boobs out without warning and yelled, "Behold, I will breastfeed!" And everyone shuffled awkwardly and put their hands up by their faces or shifted their gaze. What? They're just titties. Some fine titties. My wife went into labor 7 weeks early. At the hospital, after a few hours, she began the actual delivery. Everyone is in position and my wife begins to push. Apparently her water had never broken, and as she started pushing, a blast of liquid exploded from her all over the obstetrician, gynecologist, and nurses. The room got immediately silent and my wife calmly said, "That's fucking gross." The doctor wiped her face off, looked down, and said it was okay. She didn't get any on her cell phone she had on her hip. When I was induced, the doctor had to rupture the amniotic sac. I was expecting a small gush. So was she, I guess, because she was sitting on the bed. I drenched the bed, her pants and shoes, and the floor. She went to change and said she'd never seen that much fluid before. Husband, not medical team. The anesthesiologist for the epidural came in towards the end after we requested him, since my wife had been in back labor for 24 hours at that point, and we were giving up on natural birth. She was having contractions a few minutes apart at that point, and they were bad from what I could tell. And she wanted us to be quiet when she was having contractions because it helped her ignore the pain, for there to be silence because she was overstimulated. The anesthesiologist would not stop talking while she was having contractions. He ended up continually being a jerk and ignoring her and trying to push her to sign the form. Eventually, she growled at him, literally, followed by, "I don't need you, get out." Apparently for the rest of the labor, which ended about 2 hours after when I thought she was growling, it was, "I don't need you." And he motivated her to get through with the rest of non-painkiller labor. During my wife's first childbirth, the obstetrician gynecologist walked in when she was at about 7 centimeters. She was sitting up playing cards and joking with us. The lady in the next door room was screaming the place down. Doctor says, "Oh, come on, at least breathe deeply. Give us something. This is why you should accept the drugs offered to you, ladies. Plus, I think my wife just has no pain reflex." Every woman and every birth is different. Some are a slip that isn't even registered, while others last days and rip the walls off. My second daughter was an insanely fast delivery. I pushed 3 times and she was out. Because of this, my body wasn't able to adjust to things fast enough and I started bleeding pretty badly. So my daughter was put in a bassinet beside me until they could get the bleeding to stop. During all of this chaos, an aide kept asking me what I wanted to order for lunch. I was absolutely not hungry and told her that several times. Finally, the bleeding was under control and things slowed down, and this nurse again asked me, like the 7th time asking in less than an hour, what I wanted for lunch. I snapped at her and said, "I told you I'm not hungry. I just want to hold my baby." She left the room and the nurse came in and handed me my little girl. About 15 minutes later, this aide comes back in and, here's the real kicker, was carrying a sandwich. She told me I had to put the baby down and eat it. Well, at this point, I was exhausted and beyond annoyed. I took the sandwich and threw it across the room, and between gritted teeth said, "Don't come back in here." She didn't come back. I'm a male 3rd-year MD student that's been doing obstetrician gynecologist stuff for a few years now on the side, phrasing I know. This is more funny than weird, I guess. I was at a public health clinic giving teaching breast exams way out in the middle of nowhere with a club at my school. I had this older lady on the table who was the sweetest thing on the planet. Said she was something like 80 years old, several kids, husband had passed, and just wanted to make sure she was healthy. I asked if she'd ever given herself an exam before, and she said no, so as with everybody, I said, "All right, well, let's teach you how to do it, and then you don't have to worry about coming back here in the future." She kindly says, "Wonderful." And I start going through the steps and eventually get to palpating the actual breast. "Okay, so you're going to start up here and use the pads of your fingers Don't lift them up, just slide and push in circles, getting closer to the nipple like this. See? Once you get to the nipple, I want you to squeeze it, like this, and look for any... She lets out an enormous moan and shudders. Oh God. I haven't been touched like this in 30 years. My face goes white. Do you give pelvic exams too, young sir? I stuck my head out the door and called for a consult before moving on to the next breast. When my mother was pregnant, she and my dad decided to have an amnio. A stand-in doctor was there the day she found out the results, and despite Mom's instructions that she did not want to be told the sex, the doctor congratulated her on having a healthy little boy. My mom freaked out and decided not to tell my dad so as not to ruin the surprise. Fast forward to the day of my birth, I'm brought into this bright world without a penis. The doctor congratulates my mother on her little girl. My mom responds by yelling, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." Silence from everyone in the room. The doctor then has a serious chat with my mom about loving me, even though I am a girl, etc. Turns out the amnio results were mixed up with another woman of the same name. Yeah, quite the confuzzle. So now you're a boy without a penis or what? Jesus Christ, I got lost in all that. I am in fact girl. My mother's amnio results were mixed up with another woman's. I think they have a word for that. During my birth, aside from my husband, my best friend was in the room. She had recently been certified as a doula. For those of you that don't know, a doula is support for the mother. They don't do anything medical but can help support the mom or her partner, help with pain solutions, etc. I stubbornly wanted to deliver without drugs, and during a particularly bad contraction, she leaned in and told me to think of my wonder focus, something you are looking forward to learning about your child when they are born, like an incentive. So hair color, weight, sex, etc. I looked her square in the face and told her to shut up with her hippie bullshit. I was in labor for 22 hours, pushes for 2.5. For those of you who don't know, an average first-time childbirth is around 12 hours with around 10 to 30 minutes of pushing. Needless to say, I was fucking tired. About 2 hours into pushing, I couldn't push anymore. I said I can't. The doctor yelled at me, and I lost it. Shut your whore mouth! It got me mad enough, and around 5 pushes and 3 snips later, I popped out a 10-pound baby. We found out post-delivery that I had literally ripped my uterus, which is why it took so long and hurt so bad. So much blood. Edit, I should clarify that I called my doctor a whore. Not the other way around. I was married when I had my son. While I was in labor, a very tense labor beset by multiple complications and attended by grim-faced medical personnel and my increasingly worried parents, there was a break between contractions. I was slumped, exhausted, trying to catch my breath and thinking seriously that I might not make it through. I very clearly remember watching my mother cry openly, tears streaming down her face. Then, from the next birthing suit, came the usual calls for, "Push, push, one more time." A long, low moan, a baby's wails, people rushing about, murmuring. Then this woman screams stridently, "What do you mean she's a boy? I am having a baby girl." They said I was having a girl. The fucking room is pink and yellow, you motherfuckers. It was like the sun broke through the clouds. My entire room broke into panicky giggles, which turned into genuine laughter, and everyone was shushing everyone else, doctors and nurses included. Schadenfreude to the rescue. Not a doctor, just a person who has given birth twice. With both of my children, I cursed quietly under my breath the entire time because I watched an episode of Mythbusters that said cursing helps with the pain. The nurses said that I came up with the quietest and most unique curses they ever heard. I also made some sort of mooing sound during contractions. I have no idea where that came from. With my youngest, I was pushing, she was about to crown, and I looked at the doctor and asked when I could be released because I didn't want to be stuck in the hospital for very long. We were out 24 hours later. The only time I yelled was during my first labor when my husband wasn't holding my leg correctly during pushing. I screamed, "Hold it correctly, you stupid fuck." I was also present during the birth of my niece. I may have yelled, "Oh fuck," while she was coming out. The mooing is called sounding. It helps open the pelvis and makes labor easier. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.